when we are all in hell, will you still do these podcasts? I will definitely do. I will conversate with the devil in order to get him to let me do these podcasts. I know he'll let me do it. Well, what is up, heathens? I am so glad that you guys are joining me tonight on this Friday night stream. It's not clickbait. Atheism is a lie, and I have seen the light. And I'm going to show you the video that has shown me the light, as proposed by this guy right here. He's a pastor on YouTube. Well, he's a pastor in real life, but he's also a pastor on YouTube, so.
Atheists like to pretend they're smarter than the average person.
I don't like to pretend that I'm smarter than the average person, but I will say I do have many degrees. I mean, it's like that meme where you're just dropping shit everywhere. I have a couple of them. I don't think that makes me smarter than average people, but I do think that lends me some kind of credence as far as, being relatively, I got a good head on me, I got a good brain going.
They like to view people who believe in God as superstitious. They like to think that their education has caused them to surpass this archaic idea of belief in God.
It's not my education that allowed me to surpass the archaic idea that there's some kind of God, because that's what it is. It's an archaic idea. That's not what allowed. It was really just research into facts about the Bible and everything. Like, for instance, the King James Bible that a lot of people like to use has been heavily manipulated throughout time, and it's been through multiple iterations and copying and all this other stuff, so many places. And when you go back to the original text that it's based off of, there's a lot of things that were inserted later into everything.
The truth of the matter is, the scripture says, a fool has said, there is no God.
Fool hath said there is no God. Last time I checked, I'm no fool. Honestly, I feel like those that are so helplessly dependent upon religion and God and everything like that are kind of foolish, in that aspect. Not that they're a fool all around, but just that it's really foolish to think that there's some kind of personal deity looking over you, having an impact in your life, and, that impact being like helping you find your keys or getting an A on the test. While over in Africa, you got people starving, and you got these warlords that are going through and raping women. And that's a normal thing there. That's a normal thing that fucking happens. That doesn't make it right, but in the vicinity of those portions of Africa where the warlords are pretty much reign supreme, that's just how life is. And so you want to tell me that there's some kind of objective morality. I get you. I really do. It would be nice if there was some kind of objective morality. Seriously, it would be. It would be awesome if there was some kind of objective morality. There's not, because what is seen moral over here in America is not seen moral over anywhere else. There's different cultural things that are vastly different. I think in Asian cultures, it's disrespectful to look somebody in the eye or something like that. There's just a lot of different cultural things that are seen as moral and immoral. So you can't really say that there's any kind of objective morality, which I know that he didn't mention, but I thought I'd throw that in there.
A fool is not someone who's uneducated. It's someone who actually sees the evidence and refuses to go by it.
Oh, okay. So that means you're foolish, because I sincerely doubt that you really believe in evolution as a thing. I don't know yet. You could believe in evolution. I don't know. You kind of seem like a creationist kind of person. I just don't see how, you can see the evidence right in front of you and then still choose to believe in a God. So it seems to me like I'm not the foolish one. You're the foolish one, buddy. It seems like you're the foolish one. I don't know how else to put that.
And the evidence is quite clear. We know one thing. Everything came into being because it was created by something else.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to let him finish.
I look at a tree and I recognize that a tree came because there was an acorn. I look at you. Right. I recognize you came into being because of a mom and dad. I look at a mountain. I see that it came into being by two land ridges pushing together, creating the mountain. In other words, everything we see today, it all came from something else. In other words, you cannot say that something came out of nothing.
Okay, this is where I wanted him to get to that. He's as smart as an acorn. That's right. I really wanted to get to this point because it's very odd to me, and I can't believe I'm just now realizing this. Not today, but just recently. Basically, atheists are saying, well, look, everything did come from quote unquote nothing, which we know it wasn't nothing. Because we have evidence for particles popping in and out of existence, in very short time period, like on the order of like nano or picoseconds or whatever. But they pop in and out of existence. And so we have those kind of exotic particles that do that. So nothing isn't really nothing because there's still an energy signature there when it's nothing, right? So it's not literally nothing. But what he believes is that somebody spoke the universe into existence from literally nothing. We say we don't know, how it exactly started, but we're trying to figure it out. He says, oh, I know. Some guy, he just went, hey, universe! That or he bent over, spread his cheeks, and farted the universe out. You think that it quite literally comes from nothing by a magical being, but yet I'm the foolish one because I think that there's natural processes that can explain the reason why exotic particles pop in and out of existence, or why there was the Big Bang. We know that some magical man in the sky didn't bang it. It just amazes me. It amazes me how they can literally believe the same thing, yet they just add on, oh yeah, there was a big bearded man that farted it out of his asshole. And I'm the foolish one. And I'm the ridiculous one. That blows my mind. If I'm kind of deal.
That's not possible. Common sense tells us that everything came because of something. Now, You take us back to the very first act of creation. Scientists can tell you what happened at the very millisecond. They can tell you that this element created this element, and when this element hit, then this element was formed. They can tell you the process, but they can't explain to you what is the cause of the first element.
Okay, so the first element, of course, was there were a lot of different there were multiple first elements, right? I can't remember them all right now, but I know that helium was one that is, of course, pretty simple. I mean, it has a very specific makeup of neutrons, protons, and electrons that make it that. And then later on, stars, super cooked and created all the other elements, right? So basically, he's saying that atheism is refuted, not because, any kind of theological thing of not believing in a God or anything like that, but instead he chooses to attack the Big Bang Theory, which is a red herring, by the way, if you're not up on your fallacies. He's throwing this red herring out there because not all, it's not like a requirement upon atheists to believe that the Big Bang Theory is a fact. You could still not believe in God and be like, no, that's not how it came into existence. I mean, he's not really attacking atheism, he's attacking science at this point. But I mean, most scientists are leaning towards at least secular views, that don't include a God or anything like that. If you bring God into the lab, if you bring God into your scientific theories, then you're not doing good science. Because, God prevents you from actually digging deeper, because you get to a point and you're like, oh, it's God. God, just God. God everywhere. Let's look to the Bible, because the Bible says pi equals 3, and we all know, well, shit, no, it doesn't actually equal 3. Holy fuck. There's not any good scientific principles in the Bible, but yet they still want to act like the Bible explains scientific shit all the time.
And if you say, well, we just need to go and we'll find out that it was this element that created the first element, well, then it ceases to be the first element. Then we have another problem. What created that element?
Well, no, it's not like there has to be some kind of proto-element. Electrons and all these things, like the components of the universe came to form. Like there's natural processes that made the first element. And, he was saying earlier about how something always comes from something else. And, I mean, he's right. Mountains don't just pop up on their own, but yet apparently faith healers can magically grow a fucking leg, which produces just bone and muscle and all this other stuff, which they don't really, it's just a trick of the eye, I mean, you can find that all over YouTube. You can't compare the natural processes here on Earth to the grandiose nature of the universe, or even the beginning of the universe. he's trying to compare it in order to trace it back to some kind of God, right? Saying that God made this, trying to pin it all on God. But you have to make a large leap in order to say that God did it, right? I mean, you're really just, you're drawing a cloud and you're saying, boom, God did it. And you're not explaining anything. And I find that just so disingenuous. It's not me being condescending or being so full of myself as an atheist either. I'm just sitting here saying that we have natural explanations for everything that you're saying. But you want to be the foolish one and say that, no, God did it.
And then we go infinitum until finally you realize there is no explanation, because you cannot say that the first element came on its own. So that's why belief in God is the most common sense thing for any human being to uphold.
Actually, it's not. I mean, it's the easiest thing to believe. I mean, it's the lazy way to get there. It's the lazy way to get to your answers is what it is. And I find that incredibly boring. Like, just to say God did it. Like, somebody in the comments here mentioned that plate tectonics wasn't really discovered until 1952, but they still were doing that before we kind of discovered the process. Because something has a natural process does not mean that God did it. If something has a natural process to it, that excludes God. Like, it totally shoves God out of the equation if you have a natural solution for, how something came to be. We have a natural solution for how, the universe came into being. We don't know exactly what made the Big Bang, but we know that the Big Bang happened. We have various evidences to support the Big Bang.
Because belief in God is to say that God, who is beyond the universe, is the cause of the first agent which created everything.
See, and that's just an easy answer. Hey, look at that shit-eating grin. You gotta love the shit-eating grin.
And when I look at the universe, it's made up of three things: time, space, and matter. So that means this God has to be beyond time, space, and matter.
Okay, this right here is called moving the goalpost. It's a very common move whenever they're arguing against, science, is to move the goalpost. So, now he's saying that it has to exist outside of all time, space, and matter. It's like, okay, there's no way that you can test for that. So thank you for changing your theory, your hypothesis, your poor excuse for a hypothesis, into a realm where we can't confirm or deny that it actually exists. Thank you for moving that goalpost so that now you can just be like, oh, it's God. That is such an intellectually lazy way to go about it.
According to the Bible, God is eternal, which means he's beyond time. He's everywhere, which means he's beyond space.
Yeah, I don't know how you can be beyond space though. Like, I get the whole omniscient thing. I get that God is supposed to be everywhere. But to me, with saying that God is everywhere, that's just saying that that's just reality. Like, that's just the universe. Like, saying God is everywhere. I get how people are swayed to deism. When they're deconverting out of religion. Because I was in a deistic part of my life at one point. I thought that there was some kind of overarching deity or whatnot that was just, the universe or whatever. It just came to a point where I had to ultimately say, yeah, I don't believe that there is like a God or anything. That's just like when you can't distinguish God from happenstance or natural processes, then you have to admit that God just isn't there. He's not like he's just not present at all.
And he's invisible, which means he's beyond matter. But since he is God, he can become matter. And in Christianity, we believe he did become matter through his son, Jesus Christ.
So God is everywhere and is not matter, but yet he can be matter. Like, how is that not a foolish thing to say? Like, that just seems like a foolish fucking thing to even, it's like, oh yeah, he's past matter. Oh, but he can be matter because, of course, he's not matter, but he can be matter. You just gotta read the Bible.
So you realize, if you're an atheist, you're actually being foolish because you're trying to say that everything came out of nothing.
No, you're saying everything came out of nothing. I'm saying that there was something there at the beginning and, the universe went bang. I mean, you're the one that's literally saying that shit came out of nothing, that it was abracadabraed into existence. Like, that is literally what you're saying. That is not what I'm saying. I don't understand where you're getting this. Like, that's not how any of this shit works, like, at all.
That's eventually your conclusion. Nothing is the cause of the universe.
No, actually, I'm saying that there is a cause for the universe saying that we don't know that cause yet, but we're trying to find it out, that's not the same thing as saying that there is no cause for the universe. Like, there's something that happened that caused Big Bang. Either, well, it was a natural process that happened, and we're in the process of figuring that shit out. But apparently, because it's not written down in a book 2,000 years ago, we're just wrong.
That doesn't make sense. The only explanation...
That was such a, I'm rubber and you're glue. I'm sorry. No, he's not making sense. He is totally projecting this on the atheist community, on the secular community.
Is God created the universe.
Look at that grin. Look at it. He's got that shit-eating grin on his face. He's just like, I believe in gold. I love my gold. Jesus is a good motherfucker. Well, that's the video that we're going to review tonight. I will see you guys later. Y'all have a nice night, and stay skeptical. Yo, mama's so fat, man. She gives God a run for his money. Oh! You know, when the Declaration was written, it was so that we could get off of, dependence of another entity. Not so that we could pledge our... dolphins, if you didn't know, dolphins did evolve from a land-based animal. That's pretty obvious with them, breathing oxygen